Hey there, I'm Jenna. Before I jump into what happened, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this one. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. It all began right after my 32nd birthday. I had finally done something I'd dreamed about for years. I bought my first house. It wasn't a mansion or anything fancy, but it was mine. A charming little place tucked in a quiet neighborhood, with a small but cozy backyard that my 2 dogs instantly claimed as their kingdom. Buying that house meant more to me than just signing papers or getting a mortgage. It was my own declaration of freedom. After years of living according to everyone else's expectations, I was finally in control of my life. The day of my housewarming party came faster than I expected. Excitement and nerves tangled together in my stomach like butterflies on a caffeine rush. I'd planned every little detail: the food, the playlist, the decorations. I wanted everything to reflect this fresh start, to mark the moment I truly stepped into my independence. My parents were, of course, at the top of the guest list, the only family I dared to invite. Things with the rest of the relatives were complicated, and I wasn't ready for that drama just yet. As the afternoon sun dipped low, laughter and chatter filled the house. Guests mingled, music played softly in the background, and the smell of homemade snacks lingered in the air. I was showing my college friend Lisa the small renovations I had planned when the doorbell rang again. Smiling, I went to open the door, expecting maybe a late neighbor or another friend. But when I swung it open, the sight in front of me froze me in place. There stood my mom, and right behind her, Carson, her boyfriend, wearing that same wide grin that never quite reached his eyes. And next to him was Vanessa, his daughter, glancing around like she'd just walked into a secondhand store. "Jenna, darling, I hope you don't mind us bringing a little extra company," my mom chirped, brushing past me before I could even answer, her words tumbling out in a rush of nervous energy. For a moment, I just stood there, speechless. Finally, I managed to say, "Mom, I thought it was just going to be us." My voice came out tight, confused, and a little irritated. "Oh, honey, I knew you wouldn't mind," she said, waving a hand like it was no big deal. "Carson really wanted to see your new place, and Vanessa's been dying to meet you. Dying." To meet me? That didn't seem to match the look Vanessa was giving my living room, one of barely disguised disgust. As the party went on, I kept trying to shake off my irritation. I told myself it didn't matter, that I could still have a good night. But I was wrong. I would have chosen a different color. Vanessa sneered loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear as she eyed the living room wall. "This shade is just so 2010. The laughter and conversation in the room faded into an awkward silence. My friends exchanged uneasy glances while my cheeks burned with embarrassment. This was supposed to be my day, a celebration of everything I'd worked for. I couldn't let her ruin it. With a tight smile, I turned to her. "Well, Vanessa, not all of us need to follow the latest trends to feel good about our homes. Some of us like things that last, a more timeless style." My words came out sharper than I intended, but I didn't regret them. The room reacted with a mix of quiet laughter and awkward murmurs. Vanessa's smirk didn't fade. "Why would anyone arrange a living room like this?" she added. "It's like you've never even heard of interior design." That was the final straw. I stepped closer, my voice calm but firm. "You know, if you have suggestions, I'd be happy to hear them, but maybe without the insults, especially in front of my guests." She blinked, taken aback for a second, then scoffed. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. No need to be so sensitive." The looks on my friends' faces told me they weren't thinking that at all. The air felt thick, uncomfortable, but I also sensed a quiet solidarity from them. Just when I thought things might finally calm. "Down?" My mom tugged on my arm and asked quietly, "Jenna, can we talk for a minute?" We slipped into the hallway, away from the crowd. Her face was tight with worry. "Honey," she began, "I know this is a lot to ask, but could Vanessa stay with you for a little while?" just until they sort out their living situation? Her words hit me like a punch. Mom, no, I can't. This is my space, and after tonight, it's pretty clear Vanessa and I don't get along. Jenna, please, she pleaded softly. She's having a hard time, and you know how Carson can be. It would just be temporary. The weight of her expectations pressed down on me. But I stood firm. Mom, I need to set boundaries. I can't let her stay here, not after how she's acted. I'm sorry, but that's final. Her face fell, the disappointment in her eyes like a shadow. I hated hurting her, but I had to protect my peace. As she walked away, her shoulders slumped, and I felt a strange mix of triumph and dread. Triumph for standing my ground. Dread because I knew this wasn't the end of it. When the last guest left, the house felt eerily quiet. The laughter was gone, replaced by a heavy stillness. I started cleaning, the ordinary rhythm of washing dishes and sweeping crumbs grounding me again. Every plate I scrubbed felt like I was scrubbing away a little bit of the night's chaos. Later, lying in bed, my mind wouldn't rest. Vanessa's smirk, Carson's cold grin, my mother's hurt eyes, they all haunted me. I told myself maybe the fallout wouldn't be that bad, but deep down, I knew better. This was only the beginning. The next morning started out ordinary enough. Coffee, emails, a quick scroll through my messages. But then, a sudden ping from my phone made my stomach twist. A security alert from my home system. Someone was at my house. I rushed home, my heart pounding, but nothing could have prepared me for what I found. The locks had been changed. My key no longer worked. Through the window, I saw Vanessa lounging on my sofa, scrolling through her phone with a smug smile. "What are you doing in my house?" I shouted through the door. It opened slowly, revealing Carson, leaning against the frame like he owned the place. "Oh, Jenna," he said with a fake smile. "We thought we'd take you up on that offer to stay after all." "There was no offer, Carson. Get out of my house, now," I snapped. He chuckled, completely unfazed. Now, Jenna. Let's not make this ugly. You wouldn't want to upset your mother, would you? You remember her issues with the police?" His words cut deep. He knew exactly what he was doing, using my mom's past trauma as a shield, but I couldn't let him win. Taking a deep breath, I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police, Carson. You can't just break into someone's home and change the locks." For the first time, his grin faltered. Within minutes, sirens echoed down the street. The officers arrived quickly, their questions sharp and direct. Carson tried to argue, but it was useless. "You changed the locks without permission," one officer said flatly. "You have no legal right to be here." And just like that, they were escorted out, Carson fuming, Vanessa glaring daggers at me. Relief and sadness washed over me at once. I'd gotten my house back, but I knew the fallout with my mom was only just beginning. As the officers left, one paused. "You gonna be okay?" he asked gently. I nodded. "Yeah. I didn't have a choice." When the door closed, the silence felt heavier than before. I walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, reclaiming my space. I knew Carson and Vanessa might be gone, for now. But the storm wasn't over. And just as I began to catch my breath, the sharp ring of my phone split the air. My mom's name flashed across the screen. I froze, dread curling in my stomach. I answered anyway. "Mom?" I said softly. Her voice came through, thick with emotion. "Jenna? How could you? How could you do this to Carson and Vanessa after everything they've been through?" Her words stung, and I struggled to keep my voice steady. "Mom, they broke into my house. They changed my locks. What was I supposed to do? Just let them take over my home?" "You could have handled it differently, Jenna. You know how I feel about the police, she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disappointment. Mom, I didn't have any other choice. They left me. No choice, I said, the frustration evident in my tone. This is my home, and I had to protect it. There was a heavy pause on the line, the weight of her next words hanging between us. I can't believe this. I thought you understood, Jenna. I thought you cared more about your family. I do care, Mom. But shouldn't my safety and my rights matter too? Why is it always about what I can do for others, and not about what's right for me? The questions tumbled out, fueled by years of suppressed feelings. You just don't get it, do you? Her voice broke, laden with a mix of anger and sorrow. I can't support this. I can't be part of this. My throat tightened. What are you saying? I asked, dreading the answer. I think it's better if we don't talk for a while. I need to think about all this. With those final words, she ended the call, leaving a silence that felt like a void. The foam slipped from my grasp, clattering to the floor. My mother, my lifelong anchor, had cast me, adrift over. This I sank onto the couch, feeling the fabric of the cushions that no comfort could soften. Looking out the window, the night seemed endless. The contours of my home, usually so comforting now, felt alien, reshaped by the day's events. Thoughts of family loyalty manipulation and the personal cost of standing up for own self swirled through my mind. Was there a different way I could have handled things, a path that wouldn't have led to this rift? As the night drew on, I wrestled with these thoughts. Manipulation wasn't just about coercing someone. It was about making them feel guilty for standing firm. Carson had used my mother's fears against me, and now my mother was unwittingly doing the same. With her disappointment by dawn, a resolve settled over me. Protecting my emotional and psychological space was as vital as defending my physical one. The rift with my mother was painful but necessary for my growth. Standing therein, the quiet morning, I knew the battle for my home was over. But the journey to reclaim my life had just begun as the days turned into weeks. The initial sting of my mother's words dulled into a persistent ache, a constant reminder of the price of my new found autonomy. Assignments from her end was deafening, yet with each passing day, I found pieces of myself that I hadn't realized were lost and afraid of familial obligations. My home, once a battleground of invasion and conflict, slowly transformed back into the sanctuary I had envisioned. Ire painted the living room, erasing the last traces of Vanessa's scornful marks. With each stroke of the brush, new locks, stronger and more secure, clicked reassuringly under my fingers, symbolizing the barriers I was learning to set in the solitude of my reclaimed space. I discovered a resilience I had never given myself credit for. My friends and neighbors, aware of the ordeal, rallied around me. Their support was a balm to the isolation inflicted by my family's absence. Dinners, movie nights, and long walks with those who chose to stay by my side for my days, reminding me that family isn't just about blood, it's also about who stands with you. When the ground falls away, the fate of Carson and Vanessa remained a distant murmur in my life, their past diverging from mine. In the wake of the eviction, rumors of their struggles occasionally reached me through mutual acquaintances, but they no longer held sway over my emotions. My focus was on rebuilding, on fortifying the life I chose, rather than the one imposed upon me one crisp morning as I stewed in my garden, planting seeds that would one day bloom into vibrant flowers. I realized that this was what true independence felt like. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of peace. In its aftermath, the estrangement from my mother was a deep scar, one that might never fully heal. But it was also a testament to the lengths I would go to protect my peace. The journey to self-empowerment is often a solitary one, fraught with tough decisions and painful reckonings. Yet as I looked around at the home I fought to protect, I knew it was all worth it here in my own space. I was free to live life on my terms, surrounded by those who respected and supported my boundaries. This wasn't just a house. It was my declaration of independence, my claim to a life unscripted by others now that our story has come to an end. What would you have done if you were in Jenna's shoes? Would you prioritize family, peace, or personal boundaries?